The Vespid have many sprawling nations. Some strains have become renowned for especially pronounced physical or mental characteristics. For instance, the awesome orange fire-wing strain of Vespid exhibit a ferocity that complements the aggressive Vior sept. Hello there and welcome to this video. In this painting guide, I'll be showing you how to tackle painting the exoskeleton for some of the other Vespid strains that we see in the Hivestorm dossier. I'm buzzing to get started, so let's get stuck in. Here's a list of all the paints we'll be using. With that said, this video will be covering several schemes, so you may only need some of these paints. Don't worry, I'll show you a specific paint list for each scheme. And here's also a list of the additional equipment that we've used. If you're new to painting and want to brush up on your skills, check out our Painting Essentials playlist for more info on how to paint. The Stingwing of the Storm's Echo strain are said to be able to hear their enemies' hearts beating. The light blue-grey scheme looks awesome and is an absolute classic. Let's get started with a super easy way to tackle it. As promised, here's a list of all the paints we'll be using specifically for this scheme. I'll be starting with an undercoat of Grey Seer, but any light spray will work just fine. So if you'd rather use Wraithbone or White Scar, that's okay too. First up is a base coat of Pilar Glacier. This is a very thin contrast paint, so it will just tint the exoskeleton and give us a blue hue. So apply this all over liberally, whilst also watching out for any excessive pooling. Leave it for about 30 minutes to fully dry, and then we can move on. Once it's dry, next we're going to add some cool dot patterns to a few different places across the exoskeleton using Cantor Blue. There's no right or wrong area to add this to, but I'll be adding dots to the shoulders, hands, knees, and towards the bottom of the legs too. Take your time and be as careful as you can for the best results. Because we're only painting small dots, one thin layer should do the trick. With the dots applied, I'm now going to make the blue tone of the exoskeleton a little stronger by adding a second layer of Pilar Glacier, this time with some contrast medium to make it a little more subtle. Doing this after applying the dots will mean that they blend into the exoskeleton and seem more natural. But with that said, you could apply the dots after this second layer instead if you wanted to. I'll be applying this in the exact same way as before and leaving it for 30 minutes or so to fully dry once again. Looks great! All that's left now is to add a highlight. To finish off this scheme, I'll be adding an all-over light dry brush of Ulthuan Grey. Apply this in moderation and build it up slowly. We can always go back and add more, but removing too much of this is quite difficult, so it's best to build it up slowly. If you'd like to learn more about dry brushing, we've got a great video all about it. And with that done, the exoskeleton on this Vespid Stingwing of the Storm's Echo strain is complete. I've just blacked out the rest of the details that we won't be painting today, but feel free to move on to them now if this is a scheme for you. If not, don't worry, we've got some really cool ones coming up, so stick around. The Vespid warriors of the venomous Barb Nebulae strain have a fitting green exoskeleton. I really like this one, and I think a whole kill team in this scheme would look fantastic. If you're following along, here's all the paints for this scheme. Once again, we'll kick off this scheme with a Grey Seer undercoat. And then, just like before, we'll go straight into adding some contrast paint. But this time, we'll be using Striking Scorpion Green. And because this is a much thicker contrast paint than Pilar Glacier, we'll thin it down with some contrast medium first. Take your time and apply this all over the exoskeleton, being mindful of pooling. Leave it for about 30 minutes to dry, and then do the exact same thing a second time. Applying this in two thin layers rather than taking it straight from the pot will make the green slightly more muted and natural. And once that second layer is dry, the main green colour of this exoskeleton is complete. At this point, you can go ahead and add that very same dot pattern using Caliban Green if you want to. I'm picking out the same areas as last time, so that's the shoulders, hands, knees, and lower parts of the leg. After that, to add some further definition to the exoskeleton, as well as blend the dot patterns in some more, I'll be applying an all-over shade using Baletan Green. Watch out for any pooling, and make sure to get this into every part of the exoskeleton. Give it 30 minutes or so to fully dry, and you should have something that looks like this. Just one more step to go. And that final step, once again, is a highlight. To conclude this scheme, I'll apply a light dry brush of Moot Green, building it up slowly until I'm happy with the result. And with that applied, the second exoskeleton scheme is complete. A Vespid Stingwing of the Barb Nebulae strain. This might be my favourite of the bunch, but let's see if that changes as we move on to the third scheme. Amidst the squirming jungles of Arbithuria, a Vespid warrior advances through the firefight. There's actually no name assigned to this strain in the Hivestorm dossier, but I just thought it looked so cool. If you think it looks cool too and want to paint it yourself, you'll be needing this paint list. A Grey Seer undercoat will once again set us up nicely. And then we can go straight into base coating with some thinned down Flesh Tearers Red. I've mixed in 3 parts contrast medium once again to allow the hue of the end result to look more natural. Once that first layer of this has dried, I'll apply a second layer in the exact same way. And when that second layer is completely dry, we should have something that looks like this. Looks great! Now, just to add some further definition and darken down the exoskeleton with an all-over shade of Nuln Oil. Leave this for about 30 minutes to dry also. And there we go! This third scheme is looking fantastic. All that's left is to finish up with a highlight. And for that highlight, I'll go back to my trusty dry brush, and this time round, tusk or fur. And blammo! That's the third scheme done, just one more to go. The Stingwing of the Umbral Vortex strain are renowned for their nigh-on prescient tactical skill. This is the most simple scheme in the bunch, so we'll be adding our own little extra touch to spice it up. Stay tuned to see what that is, but this paint list may give it away ever so slightly. This time round, I'll kick us off with a Chaos Black undercoat. This is predominantly a black scheme, so this is a no-brainer. And there's no need to shade, we can go straight into a dry brush highlight of Dark Reaper. Now, this is pretty much what the Umbral Vortex strain looks like, a quick and easy stealthy look. But seeing as it was so quick to achieve, I thought it'd be really fun to add a little something extra. I'm going to start picking out some segmented parts of the exoskeleton using Grey Seer. Because we're painting over black, you may need more than the usual 2 thin layers of this, but that's no problem. With that done, we're left with some really neat white stripes across the exoskeleton. Now, some of you may know where this is heading. And if you haven't figured it out already, I'm adding some yellow hornet-like stripes to my Vespid. I'm now just going to add some Imperial Fist yellow across all the Grey Seer to start bringing this effect together. And once that's dry, I'll quickly shade them all with Cassandora yellow. Boom, our final exoskeleton colour scheme is complete. I think I enjoyed painting this one the most. But there we have it. That's 4 different Vespid Stingwing exoskeleton colour schemes for some different strains. Don't forget there's also that awesome orange scheme that we see on the box art too, and if you're interested in that, we have a video all about how to paint it. Well, hopefully you found this video useful. Maybe it's given you some ideas of painting your very own Vespid, or maybe some different models entirely like Tyranids. Remember, if you're looking for more tutorials, tips and tricks, you can check out some of the other videos on the Warhammer YouTube channel. Alternatively, you can head to your local Warhammer store where our amazing staff are always happy to help. Thanks for watching, see you next time. Bye bye!